I have often said that bad days for Donald Trump are good days for America. It is also very true that very, very, very bad days for Donald Trump are very, very, very good days for America. And today was one of them. Judge Engeron in the New York civil business fraud case involving Trump and his two eldest spawn, Donald Jr. and Eric, announced the penalties for their decades-long fraudulent business practices, and boy, oh boy, is it a doozy. Altogether, $364 million in damages, and 355 of those, well, 355 million of those dollars are Donald J. Trump's responsibility. On top of all of that, Uday and Kusei Trump cannot practice business in New York City for 2 years, and the melted circus peanut himself is barred from practicing business in New York for 3 years. But that's not my favorite part. My favorite part is that a woman, a former judge named Barbara Jones, is basically their babysitter now. And they can't do shit financially without asking her first. And if they try to do anything shady, they could land themselves with even stiffer penalties. Not that I like to use the word stiffer in reference to them, because it's probably not possible, but I digress. Just thinking about Mr. Grab-a-Baby Pussy having to answer to a woman for every dime he spends in the city he grew up in, the city where his daddy made his money off of the backs of everyday average Americans, not paying them essentially. Boy, oh boy, did he fuck up daddy's money spectacularly or what? Here's the thing, if Donald Trump can't be trusted to run a business in New York, how the hell can anyone trust him enough to run the largest economy in the world? And here's one other little nugget for you. Taylor Swift made $370 million from her Eras Tour ticket sales and merchandise. In other words, $6 million more than Donald Trump and his sons were just ordered to pay in the New York business fraud case. The money she made off of that tour officially made her a billionaire, by the way, something Donald Trump, even if he is right now, probably won't be for much longer. My guest this week is Zach Freeman. Zach is a father of 3 in Grapevine, Texas, who created the character Concerned Parent in North Texas and started making satirical videos that lampoon far-right politics after his school board was taken over by far-right extremists. He is not an author or a filmmaker or a lawyer. He is just, and he says just, although I don't think it's a dad, using humor to draw attention to the current craziness permeating North Texas and the rest of the country. This was as much fun as I've had this entire time I've been doing this podcast. I know you're going to laugh because it's physically impossible not to, and you're going to need to follow Zach. You need to go follow Concerned Parent in North Texas on all the socials. Go buy his t-shirts. He's amazing. Please, please, please enjoy this conversation. And one last thing, rest in peace, Alexei Navalny. Welcome to the Are You Effing Kidding Me podcast, Zach Freeman, AKA Concerned Parent in North Texas. Hi, Zach. Now that we've introduced you properly, and Alexa, say hi to Zach. Hi. There you go. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, JoJo. Thank you, Alexa. I appreciate being welcomed by both of you.
You're the first ever guest on my podcast to get that kind of a welcome from my AI.
I have a connection with the robots. They understand me. We get each other. My wife makes fun of me for this. I'm very polite when I talk to any of the robot things, the AI. I'm always like, could you please tell me the weather? And then I'm like, thank you. And she's like, you don't have to. I'm like, yeah, you do actually. I don't think that there's like, the Terminator robot uprising. There's an algorithm and it's tracking everything that we say. And it's going to be like, hey, that guy's really polite to us.
So you think that they're not going to send the robot dogs to your house first?
Exactly. They'll be like, check the algorithm. This one kept telling me to shut up, all that kind of stuff. And they'll be like, that guy, oh, wow, he's very polite.
we'll get him last. We will get
Yeah.
him. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I'm so fucked right now. I'm just like remembering like she wouldn't stop. One of the video ones I got like on one of those Prime days where it was like they were giving it away. She just wouldn't stop yesterday. She just wouldn't stop. She kept playing NPR, NPR, NPR. I'm like, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. And I had to go all the way up to her. And then I had to ask her if she was okay. And she
Oh,
was
then
like,
you
everything seems to be working properly. And I'm like, it's not, bitch. It's not. I don't want fucking NPR right now. Sorry, dropping lots of F-bombs.
you
But
don't know about my childhood, JoJo.
oh
Would you like
no.
to hear about it? No? Okay, I will remember that.
Right, right, right. I
That's
don't
what's
know her.
happening.
I don't know her origin story. Maybe
Yeah.
she was so cheap because like she was abused. I don't
Yeah.
know.
You don't know who wrote me. Yeah.
Oh my God. And what kind of like things they wrote into her programs? Okay, I promise you. Now you have
She's
literally
behind you right now. I could just like I'm watching, so don't worry. So I'm watching behind you.
well, actually, that's good because if she comes out of this rapture
Oh.
light, which people
Yeah.
people who are watching the YouTube version of this podcast can see, but the people who are listening do not realize that this white blob that looks like the Carol Ann's TV is coming to consume me whole. And if you've been watching the podcast for some amount of time, you've seen it consume me pretty much entirely. But this is like this is the original state of
Yeah.
it.
It's
Yes,
creeping up.
it
It's
is.
getting like every time you look away, it's moving just a little bit closer.
Which is like a Stephen King novel. But if let's just say this is the rapture, it does make me think of some people I want to talk to you about.
Yeah. People in my state?
Well, your state and your adjacent state and the other Natcha, because you said that there's the two Natchas and there's a
Oh,
bordering Natcha. You're right. So you're
yeah.
northern Texas, obviously. But
Yes, like
so
close to Oklahoma.
that's the hat? Is there a hat?
Oh, not that far north. See, this is the other thing we would get into as Texans is, you're not, even though we're almost to Oklahoma, oh, there's that whole other section
Yeah.
that's the real northern. Well, we're not that far north. Kind of like there's West Texas, which is like normal West Texas, and then there's West Texas, like you're in El Paso, which is like a whole 3 states over. So you can debate, like you could just say everything's Central Texas, really, and then and then there's so much more to go around. So
Well, that's
yeah,
interesting. I said to you, when we were off recording, I said that, I have state envy because New Jersey's so pocket size, fun size. It's like I was in the pool. I was in the pool, but that's why it's so small. But Texas, not to get into a geography lesson, but it is freaking huge. So when you say North Texas, what do people in Texas call the tippy top of Texas? They call it extra North Texas, super North, mega North,
man, now you're
MAGA
gonna
North.
get me in trouble because I don't even know.
It's just
I don't know what that's called.
North squared, north.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think we talk about that. That's like Wichita Falls and stuff. I feel like we don't,
It's just
unless you're from Wichita Falls, we don't really acknowledge that area. We're like, did something happen up there?
well, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to Oklahoma too, because you know that I have mentioned this too. Okay, but
Yeah.
let's get back to the rapture before it does consume you
Oh,
all.
yeah.
All right, so you got some folks in your own state, but I want to sort of hit on Rapture Mike Johnson because he's from Louisiana.
That's his first. That's his like on his birth certificate.
MAGA. Well, I think it's
no Rapture Mike John. His middle name is Michael. His first name
yes.
is Rapture.
Well, it's
And then
actually I think
he
that's
just goes by his middle name.
yeah. They shortened it even. It was Rapture MAGA Mike Johnson.
Yeah,
It's such a mouthful,
that's a lot.
which is
Yeah.
not something he hears often. But either way, sorry. And but
that's something that he does hear often. Yeah.
but his son is monitoring that on his accountability
Yes, right.
app on his phone. How much of a mouthful is my dad right now? But let's talk about Mike. Okay, so he's not emblematic only of what's happening over there in Louisiana, but he's kind of emblematic of what's happening, I would guess, in a lot of the MAGA enclaves in your neck of the woods too, right?
Yes, and even just down to his whole demeanor and self. Yes, like to me, it's all about like they're like these big tough guys, and then it's somebody like Mike Johnson that is representing them, and you're like, what am I not? What am I not seeing? This is the opposite of a tough guy. This looks like the libtard that you guys talk about is what he looks like, and we're supposed to be saying he represents the tough guys. That's one of the biggest confusing parts to me as a non-MAGA is understanding the MAGA ethos around being a masculine man. And
Well,
then we got, Mike Johnson. We've got in my state, Ted Cruz, obviously huge,
uber masculine.
incredible masculine man. It's that kind of stuff is confusing to me. Dan Patrick, Ken Paxton, Greg Abbott, those are our big tough guys representing our like toughness.
I mean, when you have Donald Trump
Yeah.
at the tip of that spear, and I don't mean that euphemistically, and Tucker Carlson is the litmus test for masculinity now that he's been eunuchized.
He's gone. He's in Russia. He's a Russian citizen now.
Well, his testicles may be in Russia, but I don't know if he's still in Russia. I think he's actually come stateside. But like,
I don't think they let him leave until he says enough good things about them.
Well, because
thank you for coming. You stay. No, you make one more video. Come to grocery store. You say how great. Yes.
Tell us about.
Don't show.
No,
You just
don't
say. You just say it's great. Joe Biden terrible. Thank you. Okay.
Please
No,
say
you cannot leave. You cannot leave. Please, you come to train station. No one in your country have train station. Please, everyone who listen to you never see train stations. So please, you come stay train station. Amazing. Okay. And Tucker's like, oh my God, please let me.
He's like, no, you must say the word radicalized, okay? Radicalized, and then talk about our expensive breakfast cereals, but they're not expensive here because we have state-sanctioned breakfast cereals. And so you've been radicalized, yes. You tell Americans, and then maybe we'll give you your testicles back, although they're very small. We don't know if we even want to bother with this.
We may have misplaced, but it's understandable. Yes, they're hard to keep track of.
My cousin Vladimir had one job: hold on to mini baby testicles of Tucker Carlson. I say fish stick air have little tiny balls. You will watch them, Vladimir. I mean, I forget his name now already, but my cousin, I have so many of them, and he dropped them in the toilet. Now they're gone. But I digress again. I don't even know how we got on that subject, but it's masculinity. Okay, so back to MAGA Mike. There is this thing too that he does where he like obviously, and I think in his case it's genuine, he believes in this rapture stuff. And so because I was a terrible CCD student and am a terrible Christian, Catholic, actually Christian, I don't know much about the rapture, but you were saying to me, tell me, so just top line it, because Mike doesn't care what he does in this life, on this earth, in this body, right? Because of the rapture, because of the thing in the window?
At least so I grew up in East Texas, where you basically have to be triple baptized just to exist. But my understanding of what I was taught in it would be like Baptist church would be all my friends' churches that I went to. I went to a Methodist church, which was like in normal Methodist church is more I think of as moderate. In East Texas, it was like probably like a Baptist church in the north.
Oh, okay.
But the Southern Baptist, from my understanding, the rapture is just all the people who accepted Jesus as their savior, you just get taken up. I don't know if you're like, whoa, or if you
it's an escalator.
You disappear. It's like a bunch of empty clothes and like cars crashing because there's nobody in them driving them. So I think you just disappear. Because
Like
otherwise, you'd be like in your car and then you'd be like, oh, I'm stuck to the roof of my car because I can't go up to heaven.
What do I do? That's why I
open the window. I haven't done that in 5 years. Open the window and then go out to go to heaven. But it doesn't matter your actions and your behavior, how you treat people. That doesn't matter. It only matters if you accept Jesus as your savior. So that's why every week you could just, I guess that's kind of like confession, but every week you would just go to church and be like, oh, God, I'm so sorry I've sinned. I'm a sinner. I'm a terrible person. I made all these mistakes, but I still believe in you. And God's like, cool. If the rapture happens, which we've been saying it's going to happen for like 50 years. So if it happens tomorrow, you're coming with me. Keep discriminating against people you don't like.
But that's exactly it, right? So like for Mike, it's this like carrying Trump's water, but carrying Trump's water to such an extent that he can commit crimes, against the government in his name, or obstruct bills designed to address an issue that they keep saying is an invasion. Mike Pence too believes in the rapture, and he was able to sort of allow himself to do the bidding of a terrible obviously non-Christian man for a long, long time until he decided to try and see him hanged, and then was like, well, I mean, are we really holding that against him? But still, but they're sort of like, that's their out, that they can do all these horrible things to advance their own agendas, and their own agendas are obviously this like really crazy fundamentalist, far, far right, like bigoted, hateful intolerance of, anyone who lives outside the norms of what they say is like traditional Christianity, or the structure of what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman, what it is to be married. And it sort of does look like a Handmaid's Tale kind of dystopian reality.
The vision that they seem to have does seem to be very similar to that show. I have to say, it does seem that way. And they get in arguments within in their own ranks about who's pushing it far enough. And if you're not, then you're not being far enough right. That's a big thing that we're having in Texas right now. I think because they've had, I mean, Republicans have had complete control of Texas, Senate, House, government, governor, for 30 years. And so I think they're at a point where they're like, oh, we're so far right. Okay, now the super far right people are having a fight with these people that are like, we're not even Republicans. We're like this next level of Republican, and MAGA. You are rhinos.
Yeah.
So I don't hear people say that they're MAGA, really. They I don't feel like, maybe they do, but I don't hear, most people I know who are Republican would be like, oh, no, not MAGA.
Really?
But then but then it of course would come to like, yeah, but Democrats, that's beyond the pale. I couldn't. So
babies.
What am I gonna do? I'm forced to vote for Donald Trump because Joe Biden's old. So
yeah, right. but they're going so, like, I think sometimes I'm like, if you hear a headline like, oh, this circuit court voted to let hospitals let people die before letting them have an abortion, like, because they don't have to help them. It's like, it's got to be Texas, right? Like, and you're just like, it's Texas. Or like, this woman was in the parking lot nearly dying before they let her have an abortion. It's like, it's got to be Texas, right? Yeah, it's Texas. Or like, they were really mad that they didn't get to use razor wire to drown migrants. And so they put out more razor wire, despite the fact that the Supreme Court was like, you have to let the federal government access that border. And they're like, and you're like, where's that gonna be? It's like, it's Texas. It just feels, it's like, oh, they're teaching third graders to tourniquet instead of doing something about guns. What could that be? It's, oh, it's Texas. And it's always Texas. But one of the ways I first became aware of you, and if you guys are not following him, you have to follow him at Zach. Wait, tell me what's your handle?
Because, Zach runs things.
Okay, at Zach runs things.
It was before I was a concerned parent in North Texas, so I was just
which
running.
We're going to get to, because I'm kind of segueing here, but that's actually a really good way to segue to where I first became aware of you, because you made this video that was both funny. You're funny. I can say that as a funny person. I mean, I know. Yeah. No, seriously, it was really funny, and it was also a dad. We don't see a lot of dad's content. You see a lot of women like me out there doing, talking to the cameras and our phones and shit. But like, that was also, and you were in Texas, but you were talking about something that my girlfriend's here in New Jersey yesterday. After the shooting at the Chiefs parade, which is just shocking alone. But one of my girlfriends was like, did you know that in some state that they're going to do this thing where they have people who aren't even educators being like chaplains instead of school counselors? And I was like, whoa, where did she hear that? Because it's not something moms in New Jersey like often talk about. But I realized it was your video, which is crazy, because I hadn't made that connection. Yeah. So tell me about this video that you made and this chaplain thing. Yeah. Does that correlate? Was that when you were like, I'm going to make videos? Was that the first kind of thing you did, or were you already concerned dad, or were you just Northern Texas dad, or?
Yeah, I had already made some concerned parent in North Texas videos by then, but they were mostly about like my local school board, because there might not be stuff that people have heard about, and some maybe they have, but in North Texas, there's 3 school districts: Grapevine, Colleyville, which is my kid's school district; South Lake, which I think everybody's heard of South Lake, and then Keller. And there's this is going to sound crazy. There's a cell phone company called Patriot Mobile, and they they're like one of these companies that, like, I guess, you know, gives you T-Mobile service, but is like, hey, do you want to pay extra? And it'll be called Patriot Mobile, and then you'll be a patriot. And people are like, hell yeah, sign me up. So there's a company called Patriot Mobile. They have a political action committee called Patriot Mobile PAC. They were spending insane money. So they spent like $300,000 on these 3 school board races, which is like usually people spend like maybe $10,000 on a race. So this was like blowing these people out of the water. And these wasn't like, oh, there's these liberals running for school board. It was like, this is a pretty red area. It's like maybe purplish, reddish. There's like Republicans running for school board, and they had like these next level crazy people. And they're like sending out flyers about teachers being groomers, schools are indoctrination centers, all that stuff, CRT, everything. And so they got control of these 3 school boards and were passing all this crazy stuff. So that's when I started making like kind of satirical videos. And the first one I did was just, I was at a park with my kids, and there was a one of those little free libraries. And I just made a video, like, it was like just nothing specific about any specific politics. It was just like a concerned parent in North Texas being like worried about this little free library. Like, this is going to indoctrinate my kids.
Yeah.
Because I want them to be on their tablet in this park, not looking at books. Anyway, it was like, that was the first one. And then, yeah, I had made a few about our local school board races. And then that chaplain one was the first one I saw articles about. And I was like, that sounds crazy. That can't be like this must be hyperbolic. They're exaggerating what the bill says. Not that I like distrust the media or whatever, but just like, that can't, so I went and actually read the bill, and I was like, this is crazier than what they're even saying, because they're taking money from the school safety and security funds and allocating that to be used to pay chaplains. So we're taking money from, you know, oh, we have a law now that you have to have an armed police officer at every school. We're taking money from that to pay a chaplain to come in to replace a school counselor. That's crazy. And they don't have to have a certificate. They don't have to be certified to teach in schools. They don't have to have a degree in counseling. They don't have to have experience in schools. And originally, it specifically said they didn't even have to have a background check, like a basic background check. The Democrats in Texas had to be like, hey, they had to add an amendment to get a background check required. That's how crazy this bill was. So that's when I made that video. I feel like that one was the first one that more people saw.
Yeah.
And it got more attention, because I think I showed clips of the actual language of the bill.
Yeah.
Which was the first time I had done that. And it seemed important to me to make it like, I'm not being a crazy liberal here. I'm just telling you what this bill says.
Right.
Here's where it says it's taking money from the school safety and security. Here's where it says they don't have to have a certificate or even a background check. Here's like all that stuff. And I think that that's where even people who consider themselves conservative were looking at that like, what is happening in my state? And why is this happening? And how is this happening? And I think, and especially outside of the state, where like you said, like, oh, Texas, but like I think people in Texas who would not even be like, oh, you know, I don't like chaplains or whatever, but would be like, why is a chaplain in my public school? I go to church. I'll take my kid. If I want them to see a chaplain, I'll take them to the chaplain at my church that I know. And also, I'm sorry, I'm ranting about this, but also the whole thing about it was parental control was the big thing that they were, of why they made all these rules about, parents' rights. It explicitly says that the parent cannot opt out of this. So you can't say, my kid can't see this chaplain. It explicitly said that. So it was like this truly insane bill. And there was this language where it basically said, we could have chaplains as volunteers, or we could hire a chaplain, or we could replace school counselors with chaplains. And it was like, to me, a little tricky language with the or, because you could be like, oh, what? Chaplains can't volunteer? Why? Because you're anti-religion? Yeah, you hate God. What's wrong with that? But
hate the Bible.
okay, but do you read the sentence? Because the
Uh-huh.
or is saying they can volunteer or we can replace school counselors. Those are very different things.
And the
That's
hypocrisy.
my long rant. Yeah.
No, but the hypocrisy component is that this parents' rights things, because it's always the case. They're actually always taking control away from parents on whatever
Yes.
issue it is. If it's transgender issues, if it's bathrooms, if it doesn't, they're always book bans. They're always actually doing the opposite of what they're saying they're doing. But they're like hypocrisy when they go around saying, oh, well, like you said, they're grooming and indoctrinating our kids with this woke CRT. They're making them pee and poop in kitty litter boxes, which, by the way, is not
Yeah.
true. And here
Right.
they are putting a chaplain, a religious person, in,
And,
not letting them opt out of it.
and they wouldn't add language that says that they can't proselytize.
Right.
Like, you're literally saying, I want to have these indoctrination people.
Yeah.
That's what the bill is saying. That is the part that was, to me, like, this is beyond any, I don't care what your political alignment is. And I have talked to plenty of, I'm from Texas. A lot of my family and friends are pretty conservative. They're all like, this first they're like, which is a natural reaction. If there was some crazy liberal bill,
They
it
would
would
believe
be
you.
like, what? Come on, you read that on Fox News, whatever. But like,
Uh-huh.
they're like, no. I'm like, no, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You want to look at the bill with me? Let's talk about it. And then they're like, this is crazy. I'm like, yeah, I know it is. So there's no part of this bill that makes any sense. And somehow it's still passed.
Yeah.
But there was this kind of delay measure in there to me that I think it gets passed, and then there's like delay that it gets implemented, where every school district has to vote by March 1st, so that's coming up, whether to allow the chaplains or not. So every school board, so then you have like, school boards that were purchased by cell phone companies.
Yeah.
Then you have other school boards, but it basically, I think, allows for these groups to know, okay, that school board voted against it, that school board voted against it. We're going to target them and say that they're indoctrination centers and they're woke and CRT and kitty litter boxes and groomers and all that kind of stuff. It's like they can then pinpoint based on this. We put this crazy thing in place and make them vote on it.
Yeah.
So
now we know.
Yeah. It's just the craziest bill. And we already had, the year before that, we had a bill where they had to put, all schools had to put "In God We Trust," a big sign that says "In God We Trust," in all the school buildings.
And the 10 Commandments too, no? Within view?
That one failed. That one didn't fail. It never got voted on. And I think it's because there started to be people who were like, what is happening with this chaplain, stuff like that. And so then I learned, this was last year, but I learned a lot about how the Texas legislature works that I never thought I would care about or need to know. But basically it never got brought to the floor for a vote. So that effectively kills the bill without anyone having to
vote on it,
how they felt about it. So that, somebody could use it against you and say, you're woke, you voted against,
you hate God too.
Classroom to display the 10 Commandments.
Yeah. I was worried about that one. I wasn't sure. I had lost track of that one. But it's interesting that you just said that you had to learn things about legislature and how the legislature works that you didn't know, you probably would ever need to know. And that's the thing too about these school board races. So your dad in Texas, I'm a mom in New Jersey. I'm very, very old. And they could carbon date me. And Mike Johnson would be like, were you on the ark with the dinosaurs? Because I'm that old. I wasn't, by the way, although there are two of me. That would be bad for the world. I don't think the world would have survived it, but I digress. So the point is, I'm so old that as a mom, when my kids were younger, they're 10 and 14 now. How old are your kids?
8, 5, and 3.
Oh, your hands full.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I never, my school boards were was like, oh, who's you guys going to the thing? I don't know why. Like, what's the point? I don't know. They're gonna talk about those new houses over on whatever road, and it's like, I don't know. You want to go drink? Yeah, okay, let's do that. Now, what we've seen, really, I'd say, really since like it got really bad since COVID, I would say, where things just went like nuts, and all of a sudden, the right decided, hey, we have an opportunity here. Like, we have really fertile ground at this super local level to do these really dramatic and drastic things. Like you said, they pumped $300,000 into races. You're like, what? Here's the same. In Pennsylvania school board races, it's literally like the Hunger Games. I mean,
Yeah.
I think people had to sell organs, like, just to run. Or, and then they got this super villain.
They had to sell their dignity for sure.
Well, that is true. I do appreciate it. Good joke. But like, and they had these supervillain mega billionaires like bankrolling all of these school board races. And what we saw here anyway in November was a lot of pushback because in 2020, what year is this? 2022. Well, yeah, both. These school boards went crazy extreme and were doing crazy things like, they making sure that you couldn't use a bathroom that wasn't the gender you were assigned at birth, and banning books, and Moms for Liberty was just like having threesomes all over people. And it was really bad, but they flipped a lot of things in November, this past November, which is a good sign, hopefully a bellwether for things to come. And Texas, has that happened there too?
Well, so we had 3 races in my I'm speaking of my school district specifically. And, the Patriot Mobile people pick one person and they coordinate, and they're like, these are the 3 people we're running in these 3 races. And then the other people are like, we didn't have any kind of communication like that. So there was 2 people running in 2 of the races. And so they kind of split the vote. And it was unfortunate, but there was definitely a lot of pushback. People were aware, especially, like I said, in the people I know, the people I talk to who are more conservative, were like, but what's happening in this school board is crazy. I don't want to vote for that. Whereas before they were just like, who's the most conservative person? Vote for them. And if you're busy, you have kids, you're not paying attention, like that's, you're like, I'm a Republican. Who's the conservative candidate? I'm gonna vote for them. But I feel like last year people were more aware of like, wait a second, our school board is crazy. What they would say is, who's like the normal Republican? And I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, I can tell you that. And there was that. And in the race where there was only 2 candidates, the non-Patriot Mobile person destroyed the Patriot Mobile person. And that guy was a former mayor of Colleyville, like high profile. And the woman running against him was a retired teacher. So it was like, you can see where the community's head is like, no, get the teacher. Even like that guy, this is almost a step down for him. He's coming from being a mayor to being on the school board. Yeah. But like, we don't want Patriot Mobiles telling us to vote for him. No. But then in the other 2 races, the vote was split, and way more people voted for those 2 candidates. But and then the school board coincidentally removed runoffs right before the election, which is it was it was a coincidence. But they were like, you know what, I don't think we need to do runoffs anymore. That's just a waste of taxpayer money. So they got rid of those. Yeah. So no, we don't. Our school board is there. We did see the pushback in the community, I would say, but we didn't have that happen. But
because they're doing what they can to make sure that the community is not reflected or represented, right? That because they're anti-democracy. Like, this is really the direction. I don't even want to call them Republicans anymore, but the entire party is going in. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, the constituents. It's cute. You're cute. Have you seen Dan Crenshaw's district? This is how we do things. This is how we draw maps over here.
Yeah, constituent is who's sending me the most money, and it doesn't matter. Like, I got this money. I got $300,000 from Patriot Mobile. I don't care what the parents of the district want. That doesn't matter. What matters is this person owns me. Kind of like we were saying with Tucker Carlson in Russia. Like, if this person owns me, I'm going to have to do whatever they say. I don't, and I'm just going to tell you that I'm doing what the community wants when it's obvious that it's not. So,
which is a national trend, 1000% a national trend. When looking from the outside in, and again, just to be clear, I love Texas. Anybody in Texas who's not an insane, crazy person, don't be offended, because I actually love Texas. Near dear to my heart.
That's most honestly. I'm a 6th generation Texan. This is the thing that is even making me make videos. It's like, there's people in Texas are not as crazy as our government is. Even Greg Abbott, when he was originally elected, was not this crazy. He's
Huh.
going with the
Really?
trend of where his party is going.
See, I
He
didn't
has
do that.
he has moved so far to the right just to keep up from being called. In the last election, he had like all these challengers running to the right of him, and so he's like, okay, I'm crazy, look at me, cowboy hat. He was like trying to be as crazy as he can be. So this is not the way our government is right now in Texas is absolutely not representative of Texans ourselves. And I feel like a lot of Texans, whether they're, moderate to and then to the left, are just like, what is happening? And then there's Republicans, Texas Republicans, who are like, am I a Republican? I mean, there's like an identity thing to where it's like, I've been Republican this whole time. I can't just become a Democrat. Democrats are evil. I can't vote for them. But like, what is happening in my party right now? And there's a ton of primaries that are happening now where there's these truly insane candidates because of Greg Abbott. I mean, he got the largest donation in Texas politics history, $6 million from the TikTok guy from Pennsylvania.
What
The
TikTok guy?
TikTok billionaire guy.
Oh,
What's his
I
name?
don't
Jeff
know.
Yass. Jeff Yass.
I
He
don't
got
know.
like $6 million from him. And he's like a voucher guy. So
Ugh.
Abbott's big push has been school vouchers.
Mm-hmm.
And we're having our primaries are coming up in March, where every rural Republican congressperson in Texas who voted against vouchers, I don't know if you remember or saw, we had 4 special sessions. Governor Abbott just kept calling special, like, we're going to do another session where you're doing it again. And he kept saying, like, I'm not going to stop. But there were like 20 rural Republicans who were like, no, vouchers are bad for my district. And so now he stopped calling special sessions and he said, okay, I'm gonna get somebody to primary you and you're gonna lose out of your job. And they're calling those people like woke liberals. And it's like these people voted. I mean, they voted for everything else that Abbott wanted. They voted for the $11 billion we've spent on Operation Lone Star for the border. They voted for constitutional carry, which means you don't need a license to carry a weapon. Open carry, which means you don't need a license to just walk around with a gun. So if you see someone in Target walking around with a gun, you can't be like, hey, police, there's a guy with a gun in Target. They'd be like, yeah, that's his constitutional right. What are you going to do about it? Just for the record.
But not a book.
I've literally never seen that, though, because you know what? Nobody wants to open carry a gun. I know lots of people who own guns. None of them. The most gun nuts people I know are like, why would I walk around openly carrying a gun? So it's the dumbest, insane legislation. They voted for all of that, but then they're like, oh, vouchers, that's a bridge too far. And Abbott's like, Rhino, Republican in name only. And they're gonna primary them. And so then now they're trying to call them woke and all this stuff. It's an insane situation.
They're eating themselves. They really are eating themselves. But like this like litmus test of how far right, and if you're not far enough right, like they're going to destroy you. And it's terrifying because I thought, like, oh, they're for book bans, they're really far right. But then you're like, no, no, there's so much worse than that. And that Abbott, like Trump, like, so even DeSantis did this too. I mean, that they think that that's the pathway, which, I mean, it's met them with success in their own places, but that's the pathway to success, definitely signals to me that they don't care and are not counting on being reflective of their constituency, which kind of speaks to this idea that they really don't want democracy. They really don't want government to function the way our government always has functioned. And that's like a national wide trend. And it's very, very problematic. Like I constantly talk about Trump being very worrisome and existential threat to democracy. But, these people on the state level, these in the governors and the circuit courts, like the Fifth Circuit Court, I mean, there's some crazy shit going on right now where it's like Abbott's openly defying the Supreme Court's order on the border in terms of letting the National Border Patrol access those ports, what are they called? The gates on the border.
Ports of entry, yeah.
Ports of entry, thank you. I'm making it sound like something in space.
But that stuff also it's in the same vein where they make it like it's like some woke agenda, but it's not. They'll say Biden is trying to make us stop doing this, and it's like, well, Biden doesn't control the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
the Supreme Court, this majority conservative, they're the ones that just issued this ruling. So
Right.
why are you're saying, whenever they talk about it, they say the Biden administration, but the Supreme Court is the one that said you have to let these federal agents have access to this.
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme Court is saying that. Not Joe Biden's not like you have to, like, he's not out there
Right.
mumbling to them to do it. He's like the
Brett
Supreme
Kavanaugh,
Court
it's
told
me,
them.
Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if SCOTUS comes back with a ruling on mifepristone, which is the abortion medication that the Fifth has also said they can challenge, if the Supreme Court came back with a ruling that they could ban that federally, then Texas would be like, "We love you, Supreme Court. You're the
Yeah.
best." But like, sorry, that's a terrible Texas accent. But they would
Culture
be
is
fine
not
with
your
it.
costume.
You just did. Do you need to apologize to Russia?
Yeah,
Let's call a
yeah.
spade here. I mean, both of us went down that road, okay? And if you can do a Jersey, I say bring it because, like, that's all right. But that was funny. You called me on my shit, and I was like, oh my God, I have offended him. Yeah, I'd like to do accents, but they're not good. But yeah, but for real, it's this hypocrisy thing. If they like the Supreme Court's ruling, they're like, yes, we will abide by
Yeah.
that. But if they don't like it, then it's Joe Biden Supreme Court. Can you imagine Clarence
Yeah.
Thomas being like, I'm a Joe Biden stan? Like,
Yeah.
really?
Hey, Joe Biden told me I had to issue this ruling. Sorry, guys.
Brett
Yeah.
Kavanaugh, I like beer and Joe Biden. And that's it. And I love abortion. Like, I love it. Yeah. No, I mean, it's ridiculous. But like, but there's, again, looking from the outside in, looking at Texas, looking at people like you, looking at Beto O'Rourke and being like, I legitimately thought, like, hey, Texas is purple. Like, Texas, these people in Texas, they're like you, Zach. Like, they're not crazy, but how the hell do we keep ending up with fucking Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott? Like, I don't understand this.
Yeah, the Ted Cruz, that one I don't understand. I don't know. I don't know that one. He's a mystery to me. Why
Does
anyone?
anyone in Texas
I
like
don't
him?
know anyone that likes him. I think it's because he's a Republican, and like I said, like you're busy, don't pay attention. You're a
Yeah.
Republican. It comes down to they can just take some clip of the Democrats saying something. I mean, like Beto said, we're going to take your AR-15s in the presidential race. That was it. He's done when he said that for being governor of Texas or being senator of Texas. He got really close to being Ted Cruz when he ran as a senator.
Yeah.
He ran for president. And when he said that clip, that was like,
yeah,
you're not going to make it in Texas. And so they can take a clip like that. And it's like, whatever Ted Cruz said, whatever Abbott said, whatever they're doing, don't worry about that. But did you hear that, this guy said this? So, I mean, we'll see. There's good candidates on the Democratic side to run against Ted Cruz this year. But
is he up this year?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize. Wow, that went fast. That time, whoa, that went fast.
Yeah. I mean, don't you? He's been growing his mutton chops since the last election. That's how come they're so.
Jowl Merkins. So you take the boob glue.
He glues them on each morning, and he has every week he gets a little thicker one. So he's like, they won't notice.
It's boob glued Jowl Merkins. And yeah, he's cultivating, he's trying to go for that really wild cosplay dollar store Wolverine look because nothing complements mom jeans and a mullet like some wild, gnarly boob glued Jowl Merkins. But yeah. I mean, Ted had to figure out some way to kind of distract the eye from the what I call the phallus proboscis. That is this what others would call his nose. There's science, right? Like it's old school, but that he has a physically punchable face. Like there's something scientific. Not that I'm advocating for violence because Although, if you had to punch anyone in the penis proboscis, it would be Ted. But he's just so fucking dislikable. He actually thinks that he can court the cult. They're like, oh, I'm gonna fly Ted Cruz's flag next because what? No one's flying a Ted Cruz flag. does anyone in Texas actually be like, I know you said they just couldn't go along with it, but is anyone like, yeehaw, like, I love Ted,
Ted Cruz?
yeah.
I mean, like I said, I know a lot of conservatives, and I don't know nobody that it's kind of like, but I feel like this is kind of like with Trump, where it's like they'll be like, oh yeah, I don't like that, but Democrats. So it's like whoever runs against him, you don't have to promote Ted Cruz. You just have to be like, hey, but that guy, whatever he did, he walked in a pride parade one time, it'll be like that kind of a thing. Like, do you want that kind of a representative? I don't know. What are his policies? Who cares? Vote for Ted Cruz. He has a podcast and he funnels money through publishing a book every other year. That who's reading your books, Ted? Nobody. You're actively cultivating an audience of people that don't read. And then you're going to be like, hey, my book, what? Who are you selling this to? To me? Because I do want to read it. I will read it and make a video about it. But who else is for me? Did he write? He wrote that book just for me, I think.
He does have some usefulness, though. You can always tell that a bad storm is coming your way in the state of Texas when is boarding a plane to an exotic location.
Well, he's trying to change that. You probably saw he's trying to pass a bill that any senator, for real, he's trying to pass a bill that any senator, if they're going to an airport, they get protection and they can go like behind the scenes in the airport. What? That was just the most, this is again, like the Chaplin bill, where it's like, how transparent of a insane thing is this? Guy who the closest he got to like having his thing threatened is when we could see how corrupt and insane and like abandoning state. But the thing I hear from people is, what could he have really done? Not fly to Cancun, work with any group to try to help? No, he needs to go on vacation. But like, that's the closest he had to something threatening his position. And he's like, let's pass a bill so that kind of thing doesn't happen anymore. It's for the people.
Right. Because this is something that affects all the constituents. Like this is, but this is the thing. When they're all like, I'm out after January 6th, like Lindsay's like, I'm out, I'm done, I'm gonna cry now, I'm out, I'm finished. He goes to the airport and he gets like 14 boos and he's like, I'm back, and I'm sorry. I'd be like, then now he's like literally sucking at the taint of like Trump down there in the competition that is the swampy underballs of like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and JP Mandel, JD Vance. Like they're all down there, and that's a visual for you folks. But I'm
seeing it.
Yeah,
it's disturbing.
Sorry. But like it's so ridiculous that this is something, again, like you said, like that this is something it's a crisis of his own making that he wants to use our government to protect him and shield him from, because he's so fucking craven and feckless that he can't just stand up for himself and say the right thing.
And also the small government, we don't need to be spending taxpayer dollars on this. You know what we need to spend it on? Making sure that senators can sneak into an airport during a crisis to fly on vacation. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen? Senators are going to have to make up lies about their kids wanting to go on vacation, that they were just going to fly them there and then instantly fly back. Like, do you know how hard I had to work to come up with that lie on the spot? And now, like, that shouldn't have to happen, is what I'm saying.
I never want to be forced to drag my own kids ever again. I mean, I will go there, but I don't want to have to do it. Yeah, I mean,
and I don't want to lie about it. I mean, I lie so much. I should not have to lie while I'm on vacation. That's insane.
It's called vacation for a reason. Okay. And when I have to tell Heidi that, yes, she looks hot in that bikini in Mexico, I'm covering the lie already. Yeah. Sorry, Heidi. I didn't go
there. Then I have to text Trump and be like, I told her she was hot, but don't worry, sir. She is not. She is extremely ugly. You are correct again. Don't show anyone this message, please.
Well, actually, keep this message and hold it over my head for eternity so that every time I go to Mar-a-Lago, I look like Reek And seriously, oh my God, it's so gross. I was lucky enough to go to a Yankees playoff game 2 years ago against the Astros, and boo, sorry, but boo, boo. I like the Texans just fine. Astros, mm-mm. And Ted was there. And so we were up in the way far high ups, but I saw that he was there on Twitter. 'Cause of course, I was on Twitter while I was at a Yankees playoff game. And I was like, Ted's here. He's here. And then soon enough, like within 5 minutes, there's all this activity going on behind home plate. And then I hear the whole crowd's like, boo. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, boo. My kids are like, what are you? My son was like there. He's like, what are you booing? I'm like, that's Ted Cruz, he's an asshole. And these guys, Astro fans next to me are like, he is an asshole. I'm like, that's right.
Yeah, see, the Astros like, yeah, you think he's an asshole. I live in his city. I don't even just live in his state. I live in the same city with him. Oh, yeah.
Right. Fucking Ted. Well, we're gonna switch gears real quick, and we're gonna because I'm having a blast, but I do have to get wow, I kept you a long time and I don't want to keep you forever. But so what I do on every podcast is I have a rapid fire random question round.
Oh no. Okay.
Okay. No,
Should I take some anxiety medication first? Okay.
Why are you going to go to the White House under Ronnie Jackson's tutelage of care?
He lives in Texas, so let me call him up. He can probably get some stuff over here real quick.
That's the thing about
Another Texan, Ronnie Jackson.
Right, that's the thing about Texas. I was just thinking, like, it's like, oh, Ken Paxton's the worst Texan, or Ted Cruz is the worst Texan. And it's like, oh, yeah, Ken Paxton shows up. He's like, hold my beer. Ronnie Jackson
would like a word,
right? And then Ronnie Jackson's like, oh, hold on a minute. I would like to have my name to the ring. Yeah, you got.
At least I will say this. I'm sorry for defending Ronnie Jackson. He represents where I'm like, okay, MAGA, that's the masculine man that I imagine that you strive to be.
Yeah.
Ronnie Jackson. There you go. I don't question why you like that guy. He seems like the guy that you are envisioning in your head. Like you should be able to do whatever you want, say whatever you want, act however you want, and be the tough guy. Okay. But like
yeah.
All the other guys, I'm like, they're trying to do it. Don't you guys want to call them on that bullshit? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, he's got the resume too. Like, I mean, the guy's got the resume. I mean, granted, he was handing fentanyl out of the White House like it was friggin' spree candies, but still, yeah. I mean, I guess I could be, but I would actually say that Dan Crenshaw also sort of fits that bill. And think about how
call him a rhino.
I was going to say,
he's like the reasonable one.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say. That's how far afield things have gone. That I'm like, well, Crenshaw's okay, but like, what?
Exactly.
Because like he believes in voting, and like my uterus.
He thinks they shouldn't have killed the border bill,
which is like he lives in Texas. Oh, hold on a minute. By the way, we saw the implications of that border bill nonsense right here in my backyard in New York 3, because they were like, hold on, why am I going to vote for these guys? They're like telling me forever that the border is the greatest invasion, and then they're like, oh, we're not going to do anything about that. We can't let that dog catch that car. So they're like, but fuck this shit. Get out, go. I don't want that. Like, that's going to bite them in the ass.
I mean, I hope so. I feel like just seeing the cycle, the way things go, it's crazy to watch, because it's like, we can't have, because I'm not talking about the news. I'm talking about my friends that I talk to.
Yeah.
And they're like, they want to give all this money to Ukraine and Israel and not do anything about the border. And then it's like, oh, hey, there's this border bill. Oh, cool. You know what? No. We don't like that border bill and then they blatantly lie. Like it says that you have to let 5,000 people every day. You're like, I can read. It says 5,000 encounters.
Yeah.
Means you declare an emergency and you shut it down. That's what it says.
Yep.
How you're just telling me that you think that we're all stupid when you say that. But then they kill that, and then they're like, okay, it should just be a bill to fund Ukraine and Israel. It should be standalone. Okay, we'll do that. We can't vote for Ukraine and Israel if we're not taking care of the border.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I think they do think,
but I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Well, that's the thing. That's why, like, we all so often feel like we're like, didn't you say? But I remember you saying, like, Mike Johnson said they lost. Mike Johnson said, don't look at New York 3 as a bellwether. They lost. This is my favorite thing. We lost because they had more money than we did. They had a better candidate than we did, who knew how to run on the issues we're trying to run on better than we did, and it snowed.
Well, yeah. Everybody knows, people in that district, if it snows and you're a Republican, you can't vote. That's impossible. Yeah.
Knitting? Like, hey, I'll take that I'm a hardier stock. Not that I live in New York 3, it was the same storm though. But like, I'm snow ready. Like I'm so hardy that I'm gonna, get out there and no, dipshit. The reason the snow fucked you is because you told them not to vote by mail, dumbass. Like maybe try doing that. I'm not telling you what to do, but like that's not probably the smartest idea, idiot. All right. Anyway, with that, we're going to, as I said, segue to the totally random rapid fire question round. Are you ready, Zach?
Okay, let me get ready. Yeah.
These are very serious. The implications. This like your AI will follow you forever, and with this will determine.
I close the door, so
this will determine your legacy. So what your children will grow up to know their father accomplished or was in this world. Number one.
Okay. No pressure.
Okay, no pressure. If no one ever sneezed again, how long would it take before you noticed?
Ooh. I don't know that I ever would. I don't think I ever would. I don't think I would notice the absence of a thing. I think I would I think until someone else told me. I think that's how my brain works. I would just be like walking around for years, and then someone would be like, it would be like a story like, oh, since the last sneeze in February of 2024. And I'd be like, the what? And they'd be like, the last sneeze, remember? On February 15th, when there was that last sneeze. I don't, and then I'd be like, wait a second. Yeah, you're right. I've been around,
look at a light.
I've been around a lot of dust. I've been around a lot of pepper on my food, and I haven't sneezed once. This doesn't make. I've looked at the sun, and it didn't. What? And like I would have to start looking into it, and so until someone told me. Probably my wife. She notices. She sees everything, so she would tell me.
Tomorrow, she'd be like, "No one has sneezed."
Yeah, she'd be like, "No one has sneezed in one day," and I'd be like, "What?" I was too busy looking at what Ken Paxton was lying about today.
I would actually, I would like it if Ken Paxton was like stuffed up and just needed to sneeze so badly for eternity. It was just like, this fucking sneeze, I can't sneeze. I'm like, no, it's stuffed up.
That's a great Ken Paxton impression.
Yeah, I've been working on it, but it's not just Ken Paxton, because that one I can do that in my sleep. It's Ken Paxton stuffed up because he's stifling.
No, there's a lot of nuance and layers to that. Yeah, no, I picked up on all of them.
Thank you. It's forever.
I can tell also what he was struggling with his infidelity and with everything else. It was like, wow, so much going on there.
All of his evil. God, he just is the embodiment of evil.
Also, he's from North Dakota, so
just saying. Really?
All these guys are not from here. This is, as a 6th generation Texan, I just want to say that is one of the points that I like to hit on. Maybe I should make a video about that.
Hold on a minute.
Representative Beth Van Dyne, who was just on the news for being crazy. Yeah, she's from Ithaca, New York. These people are not from Texas. So that's also where I say our government doesn't represent us as Texans. It's literally true.
And then they Jerry map. That's a new one. Just cutting through the middleman there. They Jerry map the fuck out of your state so that you can't get these people out, and because they are crazy. Oh fuck that. I did not know that.
Dan Patrick, our lieutenant governor, his real name is Danny Scott Goob, and he's from Maryland. He was a right-wing radio talk show host from Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland. He's our lieutenant governor, and his name is now Dan Patrick. I feel like he should have to use his birth name.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's what God.
That sounds like I'm making that up, right? I'm not.
I would not know. I'm gonna call him Goob from now on. I'm just gonna call him Goob and be like, "You're Goob." Yeah, that actually suits him. We should start giving them names that we think suit them. Also, the names they were born with.
They're given names. Danny Scott Goob suits him way better. It's actually pronounced Goob, but Goob is way better.
Why do you think you can be like, God, just change your name? I mean, no thanks. Yeah. Okay. If you could breed 2 different species of animals together, which ones would they be and why?
Oh, easy Texas question. Okay. Because we pretend like we already have this animal. The jackalope is like a wild hare and a deer. So it's like a wild hare with antlers. Have you ever seen a jackalope?
Oh yeah. We have them here in New Jersey.
You have that in New Jersey too?
With down there with the devil, yeah.
It's like the Arctic jackalope, right?
Yes. It's the snow So
yeah, because I don't
no
think
control.
it would survive. I don't think it would survive up there. It's just the way it's made. It's but yeah, so I guess that would be a white-tailed deer and I don't know what kind of a rabbit that is or hare. I'm thinking it's a hare because it's quite large. But yeah, just to make that a reality for us.
That's actually that's terrifying. But at least then they could use their AR-15s to defend themselves because AR-15s are best for hunting, as everyone knows. I mean, that's
Yes,
what
well,
they're designed for.
we would need it to hunt the jackalopes when they're attacking us. The mob of jackalopes. Yeah.
That actually, if we could convince the jackalopes to fight on our side, that might be
Oh, yeah. We'll have to turn these jackalopes into libs.
right. Like,
to-
hey, jackalopes, we give birth to babies and then murder them, and then we'll give you those babies because we are so pro-abortion that that's what we do. And then we won't because we lied to them, but then they'll still think that they're fighting for us, and then they'll
Yeah.
It's a whole plot.
So yeah, that's what I would cross the white-tailed deer and the wild hare, and then I would raise it, train it, and I'd have an army of them to stand outside the ballot boxes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's genius.
That's yeah, I'm working on it.
Oh, wait, hold on. Anybody who's watching or listening, my DMs are open. Like if you're whatever that person would be that knows about these things to make that happen, just let me know.
There's a group in Texas. I'm messaging them not about this, but they're like trying to bring back the woolly mammoth with like
what?
elephant and woolly mammoth DNA. I forget what they're called. I'll message you about it.
Okay, because I need to
but
know.
they're doing that. It's in Texas. So I mean, if they can make a woolly mammoth, they can make a jackalope. It's gotta be easier.
Yeah, but then we're Jeff Goldblum and like
yeah.
Jurassic Park. Like they didn't think to stop to ask, should we? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want a moose mixed with like something, maybe a frog. I don't know. I just want to see a moose. Like, 'cause I just need to see a moose in real life because I don't have any sense of just how big these fucking things are. But like, I know that they're like, I mean, much bigger than I think we think they are. Like if you don't know, you don't know, you don't know.
And they're like really fast too, right?
And like not nice, but but maybe a moose.
I don't think you want to mix that with a frog, though, unless it's a huge frog. This sounds.
Or a very small moose, in which case,
a
pocket moose.
a toy moose. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Snackin' Moose. Okay. Snackin' Moose is a town in Michigan. It's a Christmas town in Michigan. Last question. Oh, since this brings us full circle. If the purge was real, what's the crime you're committing first?
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know.
You're gonna have me admit this whole interview was a setup for you to try to get me to say a crime I want to commit.
FBI, are you listening? Yes. I'm getting compromise on you is what it is. I want to make sure I have something on you. Yeah.
This is why I'm so polite to my robots. So good luck trying to catch me
Alexa,
on this one.
Record this conversation. Okay. Oh no, Alexa, stop.
I don't what crime would I be committing? Oh man.
It doesn't have to be like murder.
Yeah. I'm just jaywalking all over the place. Yeah.
Take a shopping cart home.
I feel like just just driving in Texas on the highway. I feel like just driving however I want, just the speeding, going as fast as I can. That seems like the one I would want to do.
Doesn't everybody in Texas
it's so
already
basic?
Do that?
We do, yeah. But then you feel like nervous because you're like, speed limit is like 75. I'm going 85, but everyone's still passing me.
Yeah.
Oh, should I speed up more? That seems like I can get a ticket at any second. But like to be able to do that without thinking that you're about to get a ticket, this just shows what a Puritan I am at heart. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but I do feel guilty while I'm doing it. I feel bad. I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I think you're going to be down here on Earth with the rest of us when that rapture finally does come. But that was that thing that I near and dear to my heart. Like I said, Texas, but my sisters were both based. Well, one was based there. They both did military training there. One was in Killeen for a long time, and I was always like, Jesus, God, these people, these giant trucks are just. And I'm from New Jersey. Like we drive. Like we don't use blinkers and shit. But like they were making me nervous. So I was like, I don't know about this. Like this feels scary.
Yes. Well, I feel like it's that in New Jersey, New York, when you're driving, they're like like you said, they're driving and they're like aware of surroundings. So they're like, who needs a blinker?
Right.
In Texas, we're like, who needs a blinker? I'm in this huge truck. I literally don't care about other people already. Do you see my politics? I don't care. I
Bingo.
want to get to that exit, and it's
Yep.
right there. Like that's
Goes
did you
over a
see-
Honda
Fort
Accord.
Worth just came out.
Yeah.
Dallas is like the 5th worst city for driving, and Fort Worth is the 7th most. And that's, I mean, that's like 30 miles apart. So everything in between is just terrible drivers. So this is a big section of Texas that's like all the worst drivers right where I live.
Good to know.
Yeah. And
Avoid
look
that.
at my crime I said I want to commit. Drive Fort Worth.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
like no thanks. I mean, even as a Jersey driver, I would be like, I think they're gonna squash me in that F1. Fuck my God, that thing is big. I don't even know what that is. Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, that concludes this episode. But let's tell people you have a website where they can find more of you. You have merch. I'm not wearing my t-shirts. I'm still I gotta wash it. But where else? So they tell us about your website. Tell us about what else you're working on. Where can they find you? So that sort of good stuff.
That's great. Those are all great questions. I have I just put up it's just a basic website. It's just concernedparentinnorthtexas.com because CP&T is like somebody owns it and is like, you know, we'll sell it to you for $20,000. I'm like, I'm not going to make any money off of this. I'm not buying up a website. But concernedparentinnorthtexas.com, nobody owns that. And then I just made shirts with a local company in North Texas, and they look like this. Some of them.
I love it.
That is
Love
that's
it.
me, and then me, and then
This is like that was a very meta moment. It was like,
yeah. I should have come in. And then yeah, I don't really have anything else. I'm just a parent. I'm just taking care of my kids and seeing what's happening in my state and making little silly videos about it to try to get people, you know, not just the people who are already against stuff, but like conservatives and moderates to listen to it and see that their party is leaving them behind. Even I think that's what a lot of conservatives need to hear in Texas is that your party is not representing you. And I mean, you don't have to vote for a Democrat, but maybe just don't vote for that person and vote for anybody else. One of the candidates that doesn't get talked about, because otherwise your state is going to be, we talk about freedoms in Texas a lot, but we're taking away freedoms is what we're doing right now. So that's the main thing that I talk about. And yeah, so I'm on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, even Threads if you go on there.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm Zach Runs things on all of those. And that's pretty much it.
Well, I would say, again, one of the things that I think is so impactful about what you do is that you infuse humor into everything you do. And and you're also speaking the real language, the real people speak, you know what I mean? Like you're speaking the language you would talk to your friends. You're talking, you know, like a real person because you are a real person. But the humor component is massive to me because I do this too. And I think that it's a really great vehicle for getting people to be like, I can do that. I can consume this information. It's not going to make me want to pull my hair out. It's funny. And then it's in there. It gets into the wheelhouse. Like my friends here in New Jersey are like, did you know there's a state that's doing this thing with, you know, I was like, wow, I cannot believe that made it that far. But it's because the message you were carrying was delivered with, you know, a spoonful of sugar. And I really do think that there's a real power in that, especially, you know, these times. And I appreciate that so much about you because we got to laugh. We're going to lose our minds.
Thank you. Yeah, that is exactly what I try to do, is because I think there's also, you hear something and I think I'm just also not that great at being earnest about anything. So I think for me, the way I would communicate and the way I take information in is like through humor as well. So I think being able to at least make somebody laugh, and then they might see that and then go, that can't be true. I'll go look it up. There is a chaplain bill that really is happening. I thought that guy was joking. Like, I think to me, that's my goal at least. So
yeah, I think it's very effective. I was going to ask you about the Oklahoman Panhandle because what the fuck goes on there, but I will get to that. We'll get to that another time because what the hell goes on there? I just figure it's motels, like one strip club, some like tumbleweeds, and like a do-it-yourself car wash. I don't know.
I'll do some research into the.
Thanks.
I mean, it's like an hour.
Yeah, well, I need pictures.
The Panhandle. Oh yeah, that's up above our little hat. That's above the Texas hat. That's what we wear on top of the Texas hat. I don't know why we should Russia Ukraine that and just like, why do you have that, Oklahoma? Give me that.
It was always supposed to be yours. I mean, that's the way that works. Like eminent
like
domain.
up and around into New Mexico.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You need to just
Yeah.
You just take that shit. Because I mean, I don't know. I think it's yours anyway, but also just every story I ever write about somebody in a motel room where they harvest their organs, that always happens there. And I want them, I want the best for the panhandle. Oklahoma's dick.
Yeah. That's like
Sorry.
every Sam Shepard play is set there probably.
Right? And why
Yeah.
do they get to have a dick? Why doesn't every state get a dick? Like that doesn't seem fair. New Jersey doesn't have.
We have one, it's just our senator.
Well, there you go. And on that note, can't really sum it up any better than that. Thank you so much for joining me, Zach. This is an absolute pleasure. We hit it off on DMs. I knew we were going to have an easy, fun conversation because you're awesome. I'm so glad to have. Now I've got a friend in Northern Texas. Not on the weird hat part. No offense to the people in the weird hat part, but I love you too. But thank you so much for joining me. This is awesome and great conversation. Everybody, you have to follow him. I promise you, you'll be very glad that you did. He also talks a lot about vouchers we didn't get to, and that's really important because we don't really understand what that is so much, but we really need to because it's not great. Yeah, and there's a lot of content on your socials about that. So go there and look at it. And I guess that concludes this episode of the Are You Effing Kidding Me podcast. Everybody stay safe. There's a lot of news this week, and have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks,
Thank you. Thanks. I'm glad you didn't get raptured.
I'm going now. I'm getting raptured.